Hey girl, hey.
Hey, so coming at you from Pittsburgh.
Absolutely. And you all, we're using natural light to film. So if you are watching us and not listening to us, you may see the light come in and out. But we have an amazing view of one of the bridges in Pittsburgh. There is actually a cruise that is going down the river right now. So we're in a good space, and Pittsburgh has been such a lovely place to be. Shout out to Emerald City. Shout out to Capriati's and all of the amazing Black women-owned businesses that have shown us love here.
So, what are we talking about today?
All right. So when you brought this idea to me, I felt like, okay, let me just secure left hand here or right hand here, secure my own edges, because in some ways I felt like I might get convicted in this topic. And I'm going to be transparent about that. I know you don't think I am, but I don't know, a hit dog will holler. So listen, the New York Times, they released a piece about the predatory industry that is life coaching. And they were clear that many life coaches operate with integrity, but people have been finding themselves in really what they are MLMs that are
mid-level marketing.
These pyramid schemes oftentimes that only exist to take your money, not give you any real accreditation, I believe, and also just to consistently upsell you at every turn of the way. And we're interested to know if anybody's ever actually had this experience themselves, or they know someone that has.
I think the other thing that's so... Well, there are lots of problematic things about this, but I think maybe one of the things that you were responding to, which I also feel sensitive about, is people could argue that the higher education system is an MLM too, right? That getting a degree, right? Because you have to pay all this money.
And then you're upsold.
And then
go
you're
get your master's. Go
right?
Get your PhD.
Right. And you have to shoot for a private university in an expensive city. And so the system is kind of rigged from the beginning. And why do we kind of discredit certifications and credit other things? And we know that certain degrees have also been predatory.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of
like
private universities,
Trump University,
to that point, that people should not be going to. It should not be spending top dollar for a job that's going to pay you a low hourly wage. And where I'm from, I know a lot of people, unfortunately, that those programs were marketed to post high school.
They're exclusively marketed to poor and marginalized individuals.
Absolutely.
Because without kind of the understanding, right, if you don't have anything to compare it to and you want an online flexible education,
then this is what it is.
This is what it is. But so I'm also going to put that caveat out, that I think that I don't say like online certifications are bad or online training are bad. I understand the impulse. I have done different forms of, not life coaching, but different training programs that I have found to be very helpful. And I don't think everyone should be forced to get a degree.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think what I was responding to is what this article talked about, and we highly encourage you guys to read it, is what it means to be in this personal growth and development space, and really to tap into people's pain points. And I was telling Margo that if you know people like Marie Forleo and Erin Henry May and others, and I'm not saying that these are bad people or ill-intentioned, but if you know this particular brand of online entrepreneurship, that's what they teach you to do. They teach you to build a brand and to build a business that is online, that is all about selling classes, selling courses, and that is meant to tell people, you have a problem, let me tell you how to fix it. You got another problem, let me tell you how to fix it.
But can I ask you a question about this? Because I've seen, I don't know who those people are, but I have seen maybe people who are disciples of those people.
And there are a lot of them.
Right, in the interweb space.
Yeah.
Or like friends of friends of friends, kind of like adjacently connected to me. But they've never had a job.
And so this is what I have to say glaringly that I think would separate someone like me, like us, who do want to offer a service maybe we are still determining what that looks like. What separates us from some of the others who have a predatory tinge, which is that some of these coaches are only successful at being coaches. They've never actually demonstrated proof of concept.
But why would you hire a coach who's never had a job or never done the thing that, like, never run a business outside of coaching?
Because they're telling you that they can fix your problem. And what this article points out, and I think at this phase of life, many of us can relate to, is that we just want to change our circumstances, right? We want to get off autopilot. We want to give life more meaning. Maybe we want a life outside of our current 9 to 5. They recognize that. And once they have their audience in the palm of their hands, in many ways, if you are not diligent and principled, you can sell people anything.
Totally. I also think it's really interesting because it is no surprise that the vast market share comes from women.
Can you talk about that?
So my friend who sent me this article said, I just don't understand why so many women fall victim to this. And I said to her, I completely understand why so many women fall victim to this. And this is my opinion, but I think women and femmes, people who identify as women, are, without making I guess I'm making broad generalizations, but can be seekers, can be seeking community, want to believe in the power of change and their ability to be part of that, and want to be part of something outside of themselves.
Yeah.
And it's so appealing. And it's so appealing to believe in something greater, like a higher power almost. Like, I don't think they hold these people up as deities, but this idea of, if I just follow this diet, if I just do this plan, if I just take this course, then everything that's wrong with my life is going to be fixed.
And that's also how many of these companies market and position themselves, because some of them have a lot of religiosity like interwoven in it, Christianity in particular. So they are now your spiritual leaders, they're your financial leaders, they're your actual friends and community. And if you're in that kind of echo chamber, it's easy for you to be. This one person said that she spent $18,000 on her first course. It's easy to make a lot of investments up front without seeing a lot on the back end.
I also think it's really easy when you're vulnerable to do things that are not in your own self-interest.
Just period.
So I do think a lot of these programs prey on that.
Yeah.
I think anything taken to an extreme can be problematic. And I think the challenge is, how do you distinguish between these MLMs and people who are actually just really skilled life coaches who want to share their skills and want to help people grow their businesses?
Absolutely. And there are many forms, right? So there are life coaches, there are business coaches. I've even heard of leadership and executive coaches.
They're manifesting coaches.
My friend Bernice went through a program at American around leadership coaching. So yes, there are many different forms. And I actually really appreciate this model, because until this point, it said that the life coaching industry blew up about 2 years ago. But until this point in, I think, human existence, you kind of just think you're supposed to figure this shit out. You go to college and then you get out, or you don't go to college, but like, your education is housed in an academic institution.
Right, that's the container.
And so I like the idea that I can seek expertise outside of a formal school. I can receive support about living my best life outside of maybe a therapist, that's not the right relationship for some
people. So I was going to say something about this. This to me seems, you know how in the polyamory episode you said something like, wow, if some people in my life had known polyamory was a thing, maybe they wouldn't have cheated so much?
Yeah.
This to me seems like that for therapy.
Oh, like if some people...
Like people who don't... If people knew that there were alternative forms of talk therapy, maybe they would go to therapy or get treatment. But they didn't know that there was anything other than Freud.
So then they just did nothing.
So they did nothing.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's more than fair. And I have not dug deeply into life coaching, so I don't know all of the differences. Obviously, life coaches are not licensed therapists by training.
And they don't want to be.
And they don't want to be. But it sounds like from what the article said, they do include like some goal mapping and life planning with some talk therapy like sessions to get to the core of, I guess, what you want in life.
So it's interesting because I am starting to inquire on a path around kind of health and wellness.
Yes.
And I'm starting to take some courses, and it's similar.
Okay.
Not the same, but it is similar that there are so many courses on wellness and nutrition. And how do you determine what's valid, what's not? Yeah. What is someone just kind of making a play at someone who's having a health issue?
Yeah.
And my friend Rachel, who's a PhD dietitian, said you have to be really, really careful. You have to look where they're accredited and who holds the accreditation in every state. This is also so confusing, and I imagine it's the same for life coaching. Treats, for example, in the nutrition space, treats nutritionists and dietitians differently, and you have different certifications for both. Or if you're neither and you're a health coach, that's a other certification, and certain states identified that as a real thing, and other states don't. But you have to do your research.
For sure.
And $18,000 is just ridiculous.
Girl. And then in this article, she talked about how finally she got to the point where she was ready to kind of launch her own business. It wasn't successful, and they told her, oh, just buy it at the core. That shit happens all the time. I see it a lot more in the space that I'm adjacent to and have been a part of as far as a customer, because I have a business coach in the business coaching space.
The upselling. The constant upselling. And before I hired a coach, I was kind of just in that vacuum, consuming a lot of content around that. And I remember reading a book by Jen Sincero, a very popular self-help author. And so in You Are a Badass at Making Money, what she says is she wanted to change her life so desperately. She was living in like a garage or something, you know, all the same story of like being destitute. And she went to this conference and maxed out a credit card and just didn't even know where the rest of the money was going to come from to take this course. And there is some of that these people preach, which is just bet on yourself. You can't afford it now. It's okay. You're going to make a lot of money in the future. Just bet on yourself. And so when does that, to your point about the line of delineation, when does that start to just become really reckless and irresponsible? Well,
because she is successful.
Yeah, but it's this, sure. She's successful.
Right.
But it's like the same pull yourself up from your bootstraps narrative that like anyone can be a millionaire in the United States, right? We know that's not true. We know the systems are stacked against certain people.
For sure.
We know that there's structures in place that are preventing people from getting success in that particular way. So this is no different. There's the one-off, sure. Yeah. But like, even if you dig deep, and not to criticize someone who you care about deeply, but
no, I don't. Yeah,
but like Gabby,
I'm agnostic. You're going to Gabby? No, yes, go ahead.
So I actually don't think Gabby's predatory.
I don't either.
And she doesn't. From what I can see, she has individual courses. She has a membership, but she's not upselling in that way. Yeah. It's very specific. Like she has a manifesting course and a meditation course and a write your first novel course, and she has lots of courses. Yeah. Okay. But Gabby like came from Metro New York, suburban New York, in a very wealthy community, and was in PR adjacent to a lot of people with a lot of power for a really long time. Mm-hmm. And shocker, where are her, like the core of her?
I'm sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know about Jensen.
Yeah. One of the things that anchors people like Gabby and her mentor, Marianne Williamson, and others, is a metaphysical text. And so they are all pulling from the same principles, which I hope helps people to kind of distinguish if someone is selling you snake oil or not. Maybe, maybe not. But at the very least, there is a core that they're all speaking from that I don't know exists in other of these coaching
That's a good point.
industries,
That's
right?
a really good point.
So that's one thing.
That's
I
one
would
thing,
say,
yeah.
what's the text? What's the core set of principles? And is this person speaking from that core set of principles?
And what's the path?
And what's the path, right? The other thing I was thinking about too is, depending on the coaching industry, if you're looking for a specific coach, what kind of maybe like trade organizations are these people
that's what I
affiliated
mean.
with?
Yeah. And what's the sort of reaccreditation?
That's true. So like, what's the
continuing education?
Yeah, exactly.
Right, the continuing ed credits. Is it just a one and done and then you're a life coach?
And also, what is their proof of concept?
Right, and what is that? Because that could be predatory too.
That as well, right? I'm sorry, but I don't know that I'm going to take a lot of cues from a life coach who I don't think needs to be in a position of coaching anybody. They probably need to coach themselves, right? And I think there are people whose personal lives are in a state of disarray and they themselves are unwell.
So I agree with you, but I also disagree with you.
Tell me.
So I think there's something really powerful about people's personal stories of transformation,
Sure.
right? And you've said to like turning your pain into purpose, and that your pain has to have had a purpose because it was so painful.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people feel that way indifferently, particularly around excruciating life experiences, whether it be like loss or grief or health related or financial catastrophe or environmental catastrophe, right? That there has to be some silver lining or else what?
Yeah.
But I understand why a lot of those people are pulled towards this space.
For sure.
And how people want to like attach to those people.
Well, I think that we're talking about past versus present, right? So if you've gone through some things in the past and you've given purpose to it, and that is the source of your coaching, whatever your coaching looks like, absolutely. I actually want you to have made mistakes and have some failures, because then you can tell me how to get to the other side of those things that I might be struggling with. But I'm not going, for example, to Jamal Bryant's church, who is a known philanderer.
No.
Mm-mm. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not
like, why am I looking up to you, sir? You treat people poorly.
I'm not doing that. I'm not taking business coaching advice or, from someone who has not had a sustainable business outside of telling me how to run my business.
So that's what that's the part that's so wild to me.
Yeah.
They're just really charismatic.
And they're excellent. Some of these people, again, we're not talking about every single person in this industry, are excellent at marketing.
Can I also say something else?
Yes.
A lot of these people, at least they make it seem like every experience they have in life is deeply profound. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like, I got on my yoga mat and
No, it's even the intonation sometimes too. Like,
or
everything
like,
is so
you are the one who's gonna save you. No one's gonna save
But Margo,
you.
that's true.
I know. But it's like, you're right, tell me what to do. How am I going to save myself? I will pay you all my money.
Obviously, between the two of us, I'm the one that's much more susceptible to this.
No, I think I am too, in different ways.
Well, I was just about to say that too. Like, there is a part of this whole personal development and growth and journey kind of discourse in this whole universe that we can just be conscious consumers of.
Well, I was going to say we can just be curious about.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done any more with Gabby Bernstein than paid for the $21 for the 21-day like manifestation thing. And then we went to the live event. I read her books. I don't feel a need to invest outside of that. Not that it would be bad if I did, but I can recognize, okay, at some point, I think I'm getting my fulfillment because what I need to do is do my own work. Gabby is not going to save me.
Mm-mm. But maybe not everyone's as strong as you.
And that is the part
that's the predatory
that
part.
becomes a little bit scary. And so I will bring my own experience into this, because two stories I'll share. One, I have a friend who, we were both getting interested in this kind of like online entrepreneurship stuff together at the same time. And she kind of took off and started hosting courses right away. And I saw her after having not seen her maybe about a year or two. And I said, hey, how are the courses going? And she said, girl, I stopped. And I said, why? She said, I just got really tired of profiting off of people's pain and telling them what was wrong with them. And I was like, that is so profound. And of course, it doesn't have to be that way, but I just think her level of self-awareness and her integrity is so important. The second thing is, I know right now, Margo, that I could make a bag teaching people how to be content creators. Teaching people, if I hosted right now a class on how to get to 100,000 followers, it would sell out. And I cannot do it. And I'm trying to figure out what is the line between sharing certain elements of my success and my, solopreneurship like stance and what I've learned in my coaching and just along the way. And what is almost like selling people a pipe dream. What's the line? Because I can tell when people just want me to give them the solution.
Well, so I was going to say, that's what people want.
There is one.
There isn't one for anything.
There isn't one.
Right? So, I mean, it's why these like health coaches and wellness coaches and social media coaches, right? People want to buy the thing that's going to get them that thing. Yep. That thing that they think is going to make them happy. But we know that that thing is not going to make them happy, right? And for a lot of things, particularly in the space we're in, there's no rubric.
There is no rubric. Now, can I share what I identify as best practices that may be research informed, that maybe I've seen my colleagues do? Obviously, we all can do that. Our quitting story is a perfect example of that. But we cannot give you the strength, the courage, or the finances, or the discipline to do what we do.
And also, we are not you, and you are not us. And I don't even want to make it about me, like, because I don't consider myself a creator. But in terms of being an online creator, it would also be disingenuous because no one's you, right? So you have married politics and fashion to grow a community and activate spaces for social change.
Yes.
And you have a business, a functioning business out of that.
Yes.
No one else is doing that I know of. And maybe they are, but no one's going to do it the way you do.
Right.
So you sharing your story probably is helpful for people, but you can't tell people how to get to where you are, or vice versa.
Or vice versa. I can share my best insights. I can sit with you and thought partner. We can problem solve together. But what I will never do, and I think this is the thing that some of these coaches do that crosses the line, I will never promise you a particular outcome. I'm not going to say to you, come to my solopreneurship class and make sure you're going to make 6 figures.
So it's really interesting because I don't know, but like, can you imagine if one of us was really ill? And a doctor was like, if you come to my clinic, I promise that you're going to get better.
That physical, analogy is strong. Yes.
They can't do, ethically, they can't do
cannot.
that. And I think about like mental health or substance use treatment. Like there's a lot of things that they sell to people, right? But like no inpatient mental health facility is going to be like, if you come to my program, you are going to be well.
Exactly.
They can't because they don't know. And they're working off of what they know.
And working off of the work that you put in and your willingness to be open to the treatment. And the same thing with coaching. There were things that my business coach, Jenny, told me, Margo, before I quit my job, before I even got the job at Saint Laurent, that I'm just putting into practice today. So imagine if she had promised me something. It was up to me to do the work. It would never have come to fruition. It took me 5 years to do what the lady told me to do.
Right. So, what do we think?
I guess I like the list that we were developing around what to look for as people who have engaged in online coaching and offered some level of service. And I think at the end of the day, you all just stay curious and be careful, because that was the other thing that I think we have to mention before we end. A lot of these programs are reaching out to and marketing to not just women and femmes, but also mothers. And we know the stress that parenting of any type and caregiving puts on people. So to be a caregiver, to have a partner or not, but definitely also be a provider, have a full-time job. There are so many responsibilities in that. And people will come to you and tell you, I can make your life so easy.
Yeah.
And so please be mindful.
So there's a couple things, I agree. There's a couple things that we want you guys to know. We're starting a new segment.
Yes.
Called Amazing Shit That Nasty Women Persisted.
No, amazing shit.
Because I'm a nasty woman and I persisted.
And I persisted.
Okay. So this is our response to the religious right and making this narrative around progressive women and femmes being miserable and alone. And their lives being empty without meaning.
Mm-hmm. Because we haven't followed a traditional conservative model.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so we're going to be sharing. So we've always tried to end our episodes on a positive note, but this one feels fun. And I think it's an exercise that a lot of people can do.
Yes.
So I'd like to end the episode sharing something that we have gotten to do or benefited from being a nasty woman.
A nasty woman, as Donald Trump once said. So we start off sometimes with dumb shit, and we thought as a response to the rise of the religious right and all of their disgusting rhetoric about people like us being unhappy or miserable when we don't fit within the conservative stereotypes, that maybe it was our job to actually counter that narrative by just being joy-filled and grateful for the lives that we do get to live. So what is your amazing thing that you have been able to do as a result of being a nasty woman?
I mean, so much. I can spend money as I want. And I don't have to ask permission.
From nobody.
So
there's that.
I mean, I don't need to explain it more than that.
Nope.
I mean, we all have different types. We spend money differently, but I don't feel like I have to, because I feel like I am a responsible person.
Of course. You don't have to get permission from anyone. And that's actually a dynamic that exists in very, very many households. So, yes, that is.
So, and it's, it makes me really happy because there are some things I do that I don't really want to explain why, my face soap costs what it does, So what about you?
You know what I did on I think it was today's Thursday. So I think it was Tuesday. I woke up and I've been promising myself that when I'm not in a space to create, I'm not going to force myself to do it. So I said, my work today looks different. So, what I did? I had a call. I went, I got my hair cut. I got my nails done. And then I laid down and took a nap. And it was for 2 hours.
That is unbelievable.
Just
in the middle of the week, people.
On a Tuesday, just because I could, because I'm a nasty woman. Yeah.
And she's a nasty woman that doesn't have biological children.
So, I mean, the fact that I was just
lazy, as they would say. It is not lazy to rest, people. I am not saying she's lazy. I'm saying that's a beautiful way for her to spend her day.
Because I was not, and even if I was feeling great and chose to spend my day that way, that was amazing. But it was growth for me because I've been struggling with some nausea, as you know, and I just wasn't feeling good. And I was like, why am I trying to force myself to do something that does not feel good today? And I have no deadlines besides the ones that I create. And so living in a life that I have created and being responsible to myself and my wellness and my well-being feels really good.
I love that.
Thank you, friend.
So what about you guys? Share, comments below.
Come in just a little bit because I feel like oh Lord. Yeah, okay.
Okay, share yours in the chat, in the comments on YouTube, on Instagram. We will continue this conversation in our private community because I do think that progressives, in an effort to be really transparent about the reality that you can't have it all, because I believe that everything has a pro and a con, everything a push-pull. You have something, you lose something. Everything has consequences.
For sure.
Good and bad. Or not even good or bad. They just are. But in our effort to be transparent about that, the religious right has started a story about us that is just not true. I would not consider either of us miserable. Or lacking direction.
And also, it's so old and archaic. Like, are we still using this same song and dance, like, to malign people who have progressive values? It's not new people.
And just look at the data. All those people, sure, there are people that get together in high school and get married and have a family and have a beautiful life. I am not maligning that. But that is
rare.
The divorce rate is 50%, and there's a reason for it. And so this idea that people are being forced into a lifestyle that more likely than not is going to combust in a bad way.
Yeah. We should talk about, like, are there conservative values that we can understand or agree with?
Yeah, I think so. I actually think I actually am very conservative.
You think?
Yeah. You agree?
I think in some ways you were socially conservative, not politically at all.
I think that's right.
Yeah, not politically at all. You're very much like, people should be allowed to live their best.
Absolutely. No. But I mean internally.
But the way you live your life, yeah.
But that's also socialized.
100%. I think you live your life based upon where you grew up.
Totally.
Honestly.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
But so I think we should do it.
We should explore that.
Because I actually think there's certain things about you too.
Education. The value of education, the value of hard work. I got a little bit of like pull yourself up in me.
Yeah.
Were you going to say something else?
Yes. But I don't want to upset you.
You're not going to upset me. Tell me.
That sometimes I think that you don't believe that your success is because of you.
Oh.
That it's because of God.
Oh.
And that it like takes...
you think the religious...
You grew up in a very spiritual... And so I sometimes...
You remind me of that a lot, but I didn't know that's why you were doing it.
Like, because I think you're taking away from yourself.
That's deep, dog. I mean, okay, as a spiritual person, I can see both sides of it.
Totally. No, I can too, but I think it's also, like, you grew up in a place where it was really culturally acceptable to bring in your religion into kind of every day.
No, that's so true.
And that was not...
There was no separation.
And for me, religion was kind of...
Yeah, like God talk is a common experience where I'm from among everyone, even if they don't go to church.
Yeah, and that was not my experience at all.
Yeah. No, that's fair. See? So there's a lot to explore here around self-awareness and the times where I do think we can stop seeing ourselves and our society as being so polarized.
Yeah, and yes, let's do that.
Right.
Okay.
So stay tuned to the next episode. In the meantime, thank you so much for joining us today. Make sure you click down in the subscription box to find out all the ways to support us. Leave a comment telling us your thoughts on today's episode, and we will see you good people next time. Thanks for listening to Justice. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you'd like to learn more about our podcast, be sure to check us out on our website at justicepodcast.com. You can also reach out to us there if you want to be featured on the show or if you have a business or a product that you think would be a good fit for our audience. Thanks again for listening.